Next up is Lanasia. How are you, Lanasia?
I'm
I'm just gonna
fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm gonna quickly introduce you to the
Mhm.
group. Lanasia Angelina has a history of delivering an unparalleled language and light that shines throughout all of her endeavors. Lanasia is a professional coach. In over a decade, she's served many integral transformational roles. She's a certified life coach, NLP practitioner, author, and has Lanasia has adopted a work that instills critical self consciousness and self pride in each of her clients. In her privilege of being a conduit of change and part of one's life experience, Lanasia executes techniques of innate and strategic anomaly that profoundly shifts identities while helping people access and experience their greatness within. Thank you so much, Lanasia, for being here. I'm going to hop off and you can go ahead, start your presentation.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hello. I hope that you all can see my screen. Um, just it should be a full presentation that you're looking at right here. But I first just want to say thank you to Nancy and the entire team for just putting this event together. We're super grateful and honored that we get to come together and create global change. So I appreciate you, ladies. But what I want to talk about today, I am Lanasia Angelina from Detroit, Michigan, author, life coach, speaker. But most importantly, I'm a believer in someone who really is in submission to God's will for my life. And whatever season I'm in, whatever role I'm in, I'm making sure that I'm being obedient to that by honoring the small things. And in my work, the reason why I developed the ideal framework, which we're going to go over today, to make sure that you are really just positioning yourself every single day to create the version of yourself who shows up so that you can manifest through the spirit that's within you, the life that you want to live. I've seen many people who lack, what some would consider gifts or talents, getting the life that they want more than the people that actually may consider themselves to be gifted. And a big part of it is the way that they see themselves. But what heavily impacts the way that we see ourselves is the habits that we develop, the small steps that we take every single day that reshape the way we see ourselves. I'm a coach in my nationwide community that I host 5 a.m. Coaching calls for every morning. I prepare myself before that call. I get up, I make my bed at 3 a.m. I brush my teeth, I get dressed for the gym because I know I'm going to the gym right after the call. But in that time, those small things that I'm doing are reshaping the way that I see myself because who you think you are determines every single thing that you do. And I find that in my work and just in life in general, I find a lot of people who are willing and able to execute, and they'll do it for a short time. But the difficulty is in sustaining that practice and sustaining that change and sustaining those habits. And what I've found is that it's because most people, although they may be willing, eager, able, they don't have a system of sustainability. And when we think about creating success for our businesses, success in our relationships, there is a foundation established that helps us to embody who we need to be so that we can execute at the level we need to execute as in that particular role in our lives. So that's what we're going to go over today is the ideal framework that's going to help you to become your ideal self so that ultimately you can create your ideal life. So, how does one create an ideal life? Well, they must create an ideal system that establishes a foundation for how they run their lives from day to day. My philosophy that I adopted from Eric Thomas, one of my favorite motivational speakers, is small steps lead you to great distances. It's not the big leaps and bounds that you make in your life, but it's those small, meticulous things that you do that compound over time. What I've discovered in my 10 years in the personal development space is that most people are eager to learn and grow and succeed, as I shared with you all. The only problem is that they have no system to sustain them in the face of the inevitable challenges that they'll experience. So, although I can show up and perform when it's championship time, if I face a challenge and I haven't established a firm foundation that anchors me, it's going to be very easy to be knocked off my square. So, with this transformative system of imagination, disruption, embodiment, assessment, and love, I'm going to help you to really, implement some practical steps into your life that help you to stay the course every single day. Because one thing that is extremely significant to your growth process is that you understand that there is not a day off from it. You don't get to show up on Monday and just assume that it's going to carry you throughout the week. You have to understand that this is a daily practice that I must implement into my life, because every time you walk out of your house, you are being shaped. So it's important that we create and develop intentional practices to reshape ourselves every single time we pull away from the world, so that we can remind ourselves of who we are and show up and embody that truth. So, imagination is simply the faculty or action of forming new ideas or images or concepts of external objects not present to the senses. It's the ability of the mind to create, to be creative or resourceful. One thing that I always tell people is that they waste their time, they waste two major assets in their lives, and that's time and imagination. We spend most of our time on things that aren't driving us towards our goals, and worse, we spend our imagination on things that don't drive us towards our goals. And what I mean by that is 90% of people are either are running away from pain, while only 10% of people are running towards pleasure. And oftentimes when I ask people what they want, they will simply express to me the list of things that they don't want. Well, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to hurt. I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to be let down. But if you're operating in that realm of imagination, it's going to be very difficult for you to be motivated to show up as the person that you need to achieve the results that you want, that you are seeking in your life. So the most important part of the framework of your life is imagining, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want? How do you want to live? How do you want to look? How do you want to feel? What kind of conversations do you want to have? What kind of people do you want around you? What kind of money do you want to make? What do you want is going to motivate you, is going to shift the way that you show up for yourself, is going to actually incline you to move in the direction of your goals. Because I'll tell you this, if I wake up in the morning and I think about all the bad things that I'm going to face throughout the day, I'm not going to want to get up and get out of bed. But if I imagine that things are going to work out for me, if I imagine that people are going to support me, if I imagine that when I go after this business opportunity, that I'm going to be successful, if I imagine that when I make this investment, that I will get my return, if I imagine that when I support this person, support this organization, give to charity, that there's going to be a reward for me, then I'm going to build an inclination within me to move in that direction. So wasting your imagination on what you don't want is not serving you whatsoever. So it's so important that we start to create a bliss within our minds of what it is that we want. Because once you determine what that vision is going to dictate every single decision that you make following. So disruption is the next stage in the framework. And disruption is the act or process of disrupting something, a break or interruption in the normal course of or continuation of some activity or process. I love this stage so much because, as I told y'all, I'm from Detroit. So we fight. And although I haven't fought since maybe high school, that's not my ministry anymore, I had no choice. I had no choice because in order to overcome the adversity, I had to go to battle. I had to go to war. I had to stand up for myself. And that's what we need to do when the internal narratives that are not serving us, that are driving us away from our goals, that are driving us away from our desires, are ruling our lives. You always have a story that's going on within you. You always have a voice that's being amplified in some way. Whatever you're giving your attention to is going to be the loudest voice. But what's happening is we are not intentional about the thing that we do most of the time, which is think. You are thinking 100% of the time. And the saddest part is that there is no foundation established for how you want to do it. How do you want to think? How do you want to feel? How do you want to make your decisions? How do you want to solve your problems when the inevitable challenges present themselves? We must start to really be intentional about that conversation so that when the adversity presents itself, we can actually fight against it. We can actually disrupt it. We can actually go to war and say, you can't stay here. I'm sorry, you've been here long enough. You haven't served me. You've kept me stuck. You've kept me stagnant. You've kept me hurt. You kept me doubting myself. You kept me comparing myself to everybody else. And I got to disrupt these narratives because they are not driving me to the vision that I have for myself. So the first step is imagining, what do I want? Second step is, what narratives have I been telling myself that keeps me away from what I want? What old stories have I been aligning myself with and adopting as beliefs and allowing these falsehoods to rule my life? Because there's always a story. Is the story that I'm capable, or is it that other people are better than me? Other people are more qualified than me. Other people are more capable than me. Which story are you aligning yourself with and allowing to become your decision-making authority? We must become we must become disruptors. We must get in there, identify what stories are ruling my life, and start to go to war, start to go to battle, start to understand that I am I am an enemy of the thing that fights against the purpose and the plan that God has for my life. Every single one of us has a purpose and a plan. We were designed for a specific assignment here on this earth. And the biggest problem, we call it the devil. And one thing that I like to be clear about is, yes, the enemy exists, but I like to call the devil the lies in my mind that I'm telling myself. Because once I understand that I have dominion over this devil, then I can fight against it and do whatever it takes to get me to the other side of this illusion of a barrier, illusion of a limitation that has been stopping me, when it's really just the conversation in my mind that I need to shift and disrupt. And then after understanding what stories need to be disrupted, what new story am I going to tell myself? We have to get into a new story. Everything about our lives is going to tell a story. It's going to leave a legacy. And I know that people always ask you, like, are you leaving a legacy? Yes. The answer is yes. Everyone is leaving a legacy. You have to just be clear about, what kind of legacy am I leaving? Am I leaving a legacy that fear should stop you, fear should stifle you? Or am I leaving one that says, because of her, I didn't quit. Because of her, I felt like I was capable. Because of her, I felt like I was unstoppable. Because of her story, her journey, her tenacity, her will, her resilience, I stepped up and I fought against every single story that the enemy tried to tell me, that life tried to tell me, that mama told me, daddy told me, school told me, the system told me that was not true. And I stood up against it. I created a new story for myself. I established a new foundation, and I was able to create a life and a story that other people were inspired by, to create the lives that are fit for them. I don't want to be held back. I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to be stuck. I don't want to be stifled. And once you make that commitment within yourself, you will start to understand that I got to tell a new story. And that new story has to start to rule my life. Next is embodiment. I was torn between embodiment and execution, but I think they're one and the same, because once you start to see yourself and operate in that new identity, you will execute differently. Embodiment is a tangible or visible form of an idea, quality, or feeling. The representation or expression of something in a tangible or visible form. What am I doing? Henry Ford has a quote that says, I believe it's Henry Ford, forgive me if I'm wrong, but Henry Ford has a quote that says, no one ever built a reputation off what they were going to do. So I can think about it all day. I can imagine it all day. I can disrupt the narratives. But if I don't start to embody this change in my actions and the decisions that I make, nothing's going to change. This is the I Am Change Global Conference. And change does not happen by having an idea. Change happens by doing something, by moving a mission forward through action, through embodying this new identity and allowing that identity to make decisions that align you with this new story that you're telling yourself, that aligns you with this vision that you've established once you got clear about what you wanted. So, what decisions are important to make right now? The conversations that you have will determine whether or not you are driving yourself closer to your vision or further away. The quality of the questions that you ask will determine the quality of the life that you get. And sadly, a lot of people ask, man, what don't I have? What don't I have? What things are in the way? No, what decision needs to be made right now for me to show up as that version of myself that's actually going to get me to the goal? That's the only thing that I should be focused on. That's the only question that I should be asking myself, because that question serves to move the mission forward. If the question doesn't serve to move the mission forward, one thing I love about life coaching is it's a masterful way of asking calibrated questions that unlocks the power in someone else, but they're all progressive questions. The primary goal of a coach is to move the client's mission forward. And if I'm asking questions that are getting into the details, like what did mama do? What did daddy do? How did it feel? I don't care about that. All I care about is you had these experiences. They made you believe something. What we need to understand is what needs to change about that belief system so that you can move forward in the direction of your goals. What do I need to do right now? Because the point of power is always in the present moment. That's going to get me one step closer to that imagination of what I want. And then assessment. Self assessment or evaluation of oneself or one's actions and attitudes, in particular, of one's performance at a job or learning task, considered in relation to an objective standard. So everyone's familiar with this assessment, right? We've all taken the SATs, ACTs, whatever the case may be, but we're not taking assessment of our lives enough, of ourselves, reflecting on how did my day go? Was I moving closer towards the goal or was I moving further away? Was I operating as a reflection of the God that's within me, or was I operating on a lower frequency than what I know I should be showing up as in the world? What am I doing? Where am I at? That assessment piece is essential to your progress in the process. Someone asked me at the end of last year, I was on live ranting as I always do. And someone asked me at the end of last year, she said, "Are you doing a vision board session?" I said, "Vision board sessions are every day." Every single day, I have intentional time where I reflect and say, how do I feel? You need to check in with you. How do I feel? Do I feel proud of me? Did I show up for myself? Did I show up? Did I do what I was supposed to do? Or did I fall short? Or did I not honor my commitments? Are you going the right way? This is an extremely important question that you can ask yourself simply every single day. What I always tell people, the steps that we just went through are extremely simple. The steps are always simple. It is the commitment to the steps that people find difficulty. You see, I didn't say that it was difficult. I said people find difficulty. The reason why they find difficulty in it is because they're looking for the difficulty. A lot of times we convince ourselves that things are hard when in fact it's just a small step. Big steps are hard, small steps are easy. But you have to commit to yourself. What adjustments need to be made? Am I going the right way? And what adjustments need to be made if I'm not? Even if I'm going the right way, what adjustments need to be made? Maybe I was going the right way, but it was a little rocky, right? Okay, cool. What does it look like for me to go the right way tomorrow? How do I tighten it up? Mm-hmm. I remember one morning I was making my bed. And as I was making my bed, I always look for the inches. As I was making my bed, I thought to myself, you're not making up your bed like you do on Sunday. You know, when you change those sheets, you feel like you're in the military, right? You like tucking and, it's tight, it's beautiful. But then throughout the week, you're just like, nobody can see it, but you can see it. And the only thing that really matters is the credibility that you've earned with yourself. So am I operating at the level that shows me that I'm doing my best? Because the only thing that really matters is what you know about you. Those likes on social media, they don't change the way you feel about you. It's a fleeting illusion that you feel good, and it only lasts for but a short time. But when you know that you're not showing up for you, when you know that you're not giving your best, when you know that you're not operating at the standard that you set for yourself, it's going to affect your confidence. It's going to affect the way you show up for others. It's going to affect the conversations that you have with yourself. And then you're going to start to slowly fall in the direction that is not going towards that imagination of what it is that you want. And then love. I'm a believer. And You know, people will say so many things about love, and I always refer back to this scripture because there's only one definition of love, if you ask me. People say love is hard, love is this. Yeah, no, relationships and navigating through the differences can be challenging, but love is this. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. So if you are operating in love, which is really should be infused in every single step of the framework. As I am imagining for myself, there should be love. As I am disrupting narratives, love should be present. As I am embodying this new version of myself and executing with the new standard, love should be present. As I am taking assessment of my day, I am not beating myself up. I am not keeping record of wrongs. I am looking for the interest so that I can get better. Love should be present. And if you love yourself, you will show up for yourself. I always say that accountability is my love language. Do you love you enough to do what you said that you were going to do? To show up for you in the way that you said that you would show up for you? That's love. Don't berate yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't, forgive yourself. Keep no record of wrong. It does not fail if you operate with that standard of love for yourself. And I want to leave you all with just a commitment to yourself. We all make these action plans. We all say, like, I'm going to start this new business. I'm going to go after this new career. I'm going to start this new diet. Everyone is getting started is easy. What's going to happen when it gets challenging? What's going to happen when it gets hard? I've supplied so many people with these tools, and then they say, but it was hard. And I'll say, okay, so cool. Did you go through the framework every single day? Because one thing you have to understand is the enemy doesn't take a day off. Those narratives that are on assignment to kill, steal, and destroy the purpose and the plan that God has for your life, they don't take off. They don't take time. They work 24 hours against you. So it is imperative that you understand that you must work with the same amount of effort, the same amount of energy to go against the adversity, to go against the thing that is resisting you. And if you have a big purpose and plan, I am just assuming that if you're on this call right now, that if you're in this conference right now, that you know that you have a big calling over your life, that you are called to make a change, that you are called to make an impact in the world. So you better understand, the bigger the calling, the bigger the purpose, the bigger the resistance. So you cannot play small with making sure that there is a system put in place to ground you in so that you have a firm foundation to move your mission forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us that sustainable thread that keeps us going towards our goals. All right. Thank you so much.